Wonderful. So, welcome everyone to this, the first in our series of webinars for the Efficiency for Access Design Challenge. It's great to see you all. Today, joined by Rachel, who will not be delivering anything. She's here to learn as well and to support with breakouts. So really glad to have Rachel. Also, my colleague Johnny will be co-delivering this with me today. So I'm Tom. I'm part of the Efficiency for Access Design Challenge team and Engineers Without Borders UK. I'm program manager. Really delighted to be here. Johnny, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Johnny. I'm the University Program Coordinator at EWB UK. I hope you guys get a lot from this session. It was definitely insightful for us whilst we were finding the case studies for it as well. So hope you guys take a lot from it.
Awesome. So what we're really trying to do here is bring in some really helpful um, concepts and ideas and approaches that will really help you on your design journey. The area of regenerative design is evolving in terms of um, what it is, but rather than being you know a very binary something is or it isn't regenerative, you'll see that this is a real there's a real spectrum to this, and um, if you can start to think in a regenerative way, you'll realize it's a journey. It's not something that you can ever fully fully achieve. There's always more that we can do here, but if you can start that journey now, it will really help you on this challenge. So what we're going to be doing is giving a brief introduction to regenerative design. Um, we'll look at in in reality what it looks like to um, design with a regenerative mindset, balancing the needs of people and the planet, and actually going a step further and actually allowing both to thrive. Um, and then we're going to start thinking about um, the context that you may be thinking about for where you're going to base your design, your efficient appliance, and what challenges people are facing in that place and the environment is facing in that place. And then look at some case studies of regenerative design that are at different levels of the spectrum, um, but will hopefully give you some tangible examples. We'll then go back into groups to talk about the opportunities within the context you're looking at. Where can you, yeah, what can you sort of, what is abundant, uh, what is available to you that you can harness, because that's going to be really helpful um, to your design, to actually lean on what is already there, what is already strong in that community. And then finally, we'll look at how this all links to the assessment framework so that you leave from this with real clarity on how this approach is going to help you in this challenge. And of course, there'll be time for questions at the end, but if you have any questions in the meantime, do add those to the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. So what is regenerative design? Well, um, we will have a second webinar further down the line. We'll be going into a bit more detail, but for today, this is we'll be capturing this as an approach where human and natural systems are are coexisting and co-evolving. So I think a lot of design in the past has been about imposing ourselves on nature, trying to keep nature out, but actually we're seeing that given that the climate emergency and a lot of the environmental challenges, that is not a sustainable way of designing. And so how can we think about not only coexisting with nature, but also allowing nature to evolve and our societies to evolve together over time. Um, so we'll see more about that later, but hopefully that is um, quite a powerful idea that we're not. I'm a civil engineer. A lot of what we have done in the past has been just trying to force rivers into spaces and holding nature back. But actually, how can we bring the two together is really important. And it's going to bring in ideas of innovation, the sustainability, social impact, and the business value and business models that are in the assessment framework. Um, so it's going to touch on all of these different areas. But essentially, this is about ensuring that our designs meet the needs of people and the planet throughout the life cycle. So that's if there's one thing you leave with today, it is it is that how can I, with my design, meet the needs of people and the planet throughout the life cycle. So one graph that hopefully shows where we have been and this kind of spectrum uh, is a graph that shows the more degenerative way that conventional design has gone, um, and this journey towards regenerative, and how actually um, it requires as a whole less energy inputted to this. So when you are trying to kind of go against nature and you can even look at fossil fuels as an example. A huge amount of energy is required kind of out of the system to run a lot of our societies. Whereas when we get into a more regenerative, renewable approach, we are able to sort of capture and create more of a connected system. Um, but as you can see, just make a mental note of this, that there is from the conventional way where we are not considering the social and the environmental, um, we actually see that even if it means a little bit more thinking from us and more planning, that actually less energy is required the more regenerative things are in cycles, things are connected, and it actually is less energy is required, which is a really encouraging thing. Hopefully motivates you as you think about this. And again, the examples we share later will speak to that. But I'm going to hand over to Johnny to talk through this this tension between the people side and the planet side that we're going to need to be balancing.
Cheers, Tom. Hi, everyone again. So just like Tom was actually mentioning, so we actually thought this model in particular really shows the value and the importance of regenerative design. A few of you may have already seen this before. It's the donut economics model. And essentially, this was a model created by an Oxford economist. And if you're interested in reading her book, it's called Seven Ways to Think Like a 21st Century Economist, if anyone's interested. But the reason why we chose this particular model is because it just really shows how important it is to almost strike a balance between what we need and what is almost too much. So if you look at the inner ring on that circle, you will see that that represents the basic human needs that we all have. So we all need water, food, basic health, etc. And there's actually, if you look at the outer part of the circle, you've got the ecological ceiling. This shows the boundary within which humanity must not exceed in order to remain sustainable. And if we go past this point, you can see on the outer layer comes all the things that as engineers and just as basic humans that we do not like. Words that we've heard a lot: chemical pollution, we've heard of climate change, we've heard of ozone layer depletion, etc. So essentially what we try to aim for is any sort of design, any sort of way of living that we try to adopt, we find that balance between social foundation and the ecological ceiling. And this place is what we call the safe and just space for humanity in order to progress, have a good quality of life, and at the same time, not get rid of every single resource that we essentially have in this world. So if we take a more closer look of this, Yep, thank you, Tom. So this just shows you a closer look of exactly what we're trying to illustrate with the donut economic model. So you can see the safe and just space in the middle, and you can see just how it exists between the two extremes of social foundation and the ecological ceiling. And that is the importance that we're trying to get across with regenerative design. Anything below this level, we've got a shortfall, and anything well above, we are now overshooting. Okay. So if we look at this through an example to see how we have to consider these aspects together, we've got perfect. We've got food security. So obviously we all know the UN Sustainable Development Goals. One of the number two one being zero hunger. So we all know that we're in a situation that this is what we're aiming for by 2030. So we all understand the middle part, again, the safe and just space. That's what we try to aim for. Beautiful tomatoes or whatever it is that you're trying to expect. That is what we're trying to aim for. But the current situation, is that the case? Not really. Like we've got 2.4 billion people facing moderate, severe food insecurity in 2022. So what does this go to show? This goes to show that there is a shortfall. We've got this shortfall in place where people have this food insecurity and it's real. But on the other hand, if we look at another situation, this has to be balanced with biodiversity loss. It's all well and easy saying, yes, we want all the food, da, 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 but this comes at a cost and it has to be balanced with other aspects. And this is another situation which, as engineers and as any sort of like designers, humans, we need to be considering. We need to really make sure that the impacts that we have on the environment are minimized. So this example, so if you think about the overshoot in particular, 80% of deforestation in the Amazon has been caused by cattle ranching. So this really goes to show, like even with that example, you can see at the bottom the statistic mentioned with cattle ranching, where people raise lots of animals, they clear lots of space, a lot of deforestation just to create these large amounts of land to bring up these animals, etc. But what problems does this have onto our environment? Well, there's going to be increased air pollution by clearing all these this land up, increased water pollution. There's not enough trees, etc., to absorb all these nutrients up, etc. So this is another example of, okay, cool, we need to find this balance. So um, if you go, yep, thank you, Tom. So this is essentially what we're trying to weigh up, and this is why we find the donut economics model a brilliant tool to really illustrate, okay, this is the real challenge that we're trying to balance, to try and find that balance to move on with anything that we do create or engineer. So this is definitely important to be aware of the risk of like severely impacting the biodiversity, whilst we also try to achieve other goals such as food security. Um, so from this, a particular example, so if you ask what is a solution that people may adapt to overcome this problem, this is where regenerative design comes in. So if we look at this particular case study or in Rwanda, so farmers in this particular area were highly reliant on rainfall for agriculture. But obviously, we all know climate change, etc. The weather patterns are no longer as predictable as they used to be. Um, Climate change meant that rains were a lot more regular and it was harder for them to plan around. There was no sort of regular pattern or consistency that they could use for their daily living. So what was created here was a solar powered irrigation system, which now pumps the water up from the river, which has improved, number one, their quality of life. Well, firstly, I guess the direct impact was the soil, the quality of the soil, which obviously leads on to their quality of life. So the outcome, replenished ecosystem and a sustainable human development, which goes to show you can have both through regenerative design, and that's exactly what we're trying to hope you make you guys aware of. So when you're planning your projects and designs, how are we going to balance both? That's what we're trying to look at here. Um, so yeah, so I think we've got an activity now, Tom. Um, so we are gonna, I think Rachel's gonna very kindly assist us with this by putting everyone into breakout rooms and the main thing that we want to see is good conversation about what are the social challenges in your chosen context, so everything to do with people. What are people struggling with? And what are some of the environmental challenges that are currently impacting the ecosystem? So social and environmental being the keywords. I think we're going to say 10 minutes. Have a good discussion with everyone in your breakout rooms. I think we're going to do it in groups of 5. We're going to aim for. And then we'll come back and be prepared to feedback. We will definitely be choosing a few people to hear what ideas that you have been discussing. Um, so yeah, guys, over to you,
Okay,
Rachel.
great. And just to add to that, if you're not sure yet where you are going to base your design, don't worry. Either use this time to listen to others, or if you have a few in your few places identified that you're trying to narrow down, maybe just pick one of them and use this as a chance to explore uh, these two aspects. So yeah, whenever you're ready, Rachel, please
Yeah, I'll
proceed.
send you into your breakouts now.
Brilliant. So, it would be fantastic just to hear from each of the rooms. I'll just share from the breakout room I was in. Um, there's a uh, few either technical or location limitations. So um, there was a bit of a chat going on in the Zoom chat. So um, if anyone has anything ready to share with the rest of the group, do add that in there. So for now, Johnny, if I can pass over to you and breakout room 1, and if there's anyone in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I was in group 2, but there was, yeah, I mean, I joined in whilst Daniel was just talking, and I just had to just sit there for a bit. But no, I think it was a little bit quiet. We had some chats in the main chat box as well. But Daniel, would you mind sharing some of the one of the social challenges that you're facing in your context?
Oh, sure. So, the main like social issues that I've seen at least are a lot of political like instability in the area. There's like smaller conflicts that are causing a lot of people to move around, like displacement, which has a big impact on water instability in my like discipline. Um, then the weather also, like environmental factors. There's been a large drought that's been happening in the area due to high temperatures and also like lack of rainfall, which has like really exacerbated a lot of water insecurity in that area. So yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it really does show the implications of social and environmental quite well. What about group 1? Anyone from room 1?
I was in group 1.
So-
I'm actually in a team with Daniel in real life. One other social challenge we've seen is the fact that our design might not actually be accepted by the community, because the community, like in Africa, there's a sort sense of community, and they've got their own, things they've been doing for a long, long time. They're used to it. So for them to accept something new, even though it's simple to use and not scary, might actually be difficult. So there's that challenge we're trying to tackle at the moment.
Mhm. No. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you as well.
And just to clarify, which country or
Which
region of
context?
country are you focusing on, your team, Alexia and
So
Dan?
sorry, our design is basically a water carrier that's going to help, not let, basically, because in Africa, women are actually the ones tasked with carrying water around to their village. So our design is basically trying to like, um, relieve them of that burden. So we're trying to, gonna do this water carrier that's going to be powered by solar panels. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah. So I think as we're at the very early stage, so
Oh yeah, yeah.
as
So
you
we're still thinking
become
about the areas and stuff, but it's going to be somewhere around probably Central to South Africa. Not exactly sure.
well, yeah, that's that will be, you know, as things develop, I'm excited to see how that
Yeah.
your design evolves. And just to give so we're looking quite negative right now. So just to reassure you, later we'll be looking at the opportunities in the context that you're looking at. So do be prepared for that. But I'm going to just give us one example that's very close to my heart, and a example that's very aligned in terms of the world of appliances. So just to give you some ideas, some nuggets that will hopefully help you. So I've spent some time in Jordan in the Middle East, and was able to explore some of these regenerative concepts, and started a project called Shantit Sabaya, which means bagged by the ladies. And it it hits on a number of UN Sustainable Development Goals, but responsible consumption and production and creating um, these uh, these sustainable supply chains was a big part of it. Um, and it really started um, through an identification of the challenges and the opportunities. So what we're trying to do today. So in Jordan, it's got some stunning landscapes. This is Wadi Rum, where they filmed Star Wars, and yet there's a real problem with waste management, single-use plastic, and so I really tried to build an ecosystem. It meant working with people, understanding the needs, identifying where there was waste plastic and trying to get it at the source, whether that was from companies or from recycling centers, waste management facilities. You can see in the background was a color scheme that we were looking for, and it meant, working directly with people to say, how can we make this work for you so that we can produce the products that we want from waste plastic. So what we were trying to do was make bags from waste materials, and there's a huge amount of plastic that is just thrown away or even recycled, but still the energy that goes into that process is huge. And if you can divert that, then there's a huge number of benefits for that. So what this meant was actually creating a lot of flexibility, because whereas normally you would say I'm taking a virgin material and I will use it and then I'll get rid of it when I'm done. But to say actually we're going to be more opportunistic here. We're going to use materials and create a flexible business model where we can use different materials and evolve as it as needs require. So at one point we essentially used up all of the plastic that that was being in large volumes being sent to this waste management center, and actually the company that used these came up with a way to avoid using that plastic. Fantastic. Rather than thinking, oh no, my material is gone, it was an opportunity to actually look more broadly, and we started to work with a company that provided billboards and made bags out of billboards instead of plastic. We still did some out of plastic, but we kind of scaled that down and broadened the products. So started to make backpacks using seat belts that were a byproduct of a company that fixed car seats, and they just would throw them away. There was a big market, and they had these big canvases that they were using for shade, and we were able to use them. So I think it's really important to build flexibility into our approach, so that we are able to evolve and to adjust to the environments, because otherwise you're having to the more you're trying to control the system, the more damage you can do to the environment. You have to perhaps use a mine that provides a certain material that is not being ethically managed, because, well, I have to use it, so I'm going to have to go there. And I found that a really helpful approach, and certainly ties into the way that you're going to need to be sourcing your materials. Um, and yeah, I learned a huge amount from this, of the social side as well. So this was refugee women were involved in this process, um, and we co-created this project. This wasn't just imposed on them, as Alexia was saying. They were part of the the how are we going to manufacture these bags? How are we going to agree on when they would produce, their hours, working hours? So it's a really holistic approach. And closer to the appliance space, there is a company called Fairphone that is seeking to reduce the environmental footprint of the phone and improve the social impact throughout the life cycle. So they are looking to make products that last. They're trying to tackle the e-waste at the end of the life, but also ethically sourcing these materials, these rare earth materials, at the start, and also improving the working conditions for the workers as well. So there's a whole spectrum, huge amount of potential. And it shows that these big systems that maybe we feel there's no way we can change them, it's just the way things are, that things are changing. So do take inspiration from Fairphone, especially as you're thinking about how you could design your appliance at the different stages. So with that, let's go back into groups. We're now going to be thinking about the strengths in the chosen community that you're potentially going to look at. For me, it was seeing that there were a lot of women who had skills in sewing, but there wasn't an outlet for that. Similarly, what's thriving in the local environment? Sadly for me, what was thriving was waste, huge amounts of plastic waste, and actually seeing that as an opportunity. But in many cases, it could be a positive thing. Is there an abundance of something, and how could you sustainably source that, work with that, rather than just saying let's just chop it all down, source all of it, and move on to the next thing? How can you work with things that are thriving in the environment? So we're going to spend just under 10 minutes this time in your groups, and make sure you split your time between strengths in the community and what is thriving in that environment as well. Rachel, over to you. So we have people returning. We'll just do a quick, it'd be great to hear from anyone who is back. I'm really interested in what is thriving. What because or either, whatever you discussed. We'll just spend 1 minute hearing from somebody about what you discussed. Whoever would be happy to share. Cool. Well, I will say, given the time we have, I'll just do a quick wrap up on the discussion, as I think it can be very easy just to focus on the challenges in a place. And from my experience, actually, when you're able to look for opportunity and look for those strengths, and then try and leverage those, make the most of those strengths, it can be an extremely powerful thing. And so I encourage you to be very focused in terms of where you are, who you are designing for, rather than it might be easy just to say, I'm going to design a product and then I'll be able to use it in all these places. That should come maybe later in terms of your business model to show that it works in many places. But we want this to, we need you to show us who you're designing this for, what the environment is like, how it's going to benefit them. And as I said, thinking about the opportunities in that place will go a long way. So let's just really tie this back in to the assessment framework, so that you can come away from this and see these are the areas where I'll be able to bring in regenerative design, this approach. So thinking about innovation, there is a section that you will be marked on around further innovation. And these regenerative practices, as we've seen with Fairphone, this is a whole life cycle where they have been very innovative with the way they are sourcing things, the way they are working with suppliers, the way they are designing the phone so that it's modular, so things can be added and removed. So there's a huge potential for you to get big marks for this section, the further innovation section of that, around how you are creating an innovative regenerative process. Looking at sustainability, well, we challenge you in that to not only limit the impact on the environment, but actually how can you improve the environment as a result of your design. And there's also reducing greenhouse gases and thinking about the sourcing locally and repairing locally. All these things will help with reducing greenhouse gases. And then for social impact, there is a number of sustainable development goals that hit on this. So we have sustainable cities and communities, and responsible consumption and production that you can really pull out of this by using this approach. We also thinking about sustainability and about social impact is the impact on life below water, maybe as a result of limiting the amount of waste, limiting the amount of harmful things in the mining process, whatever it may be. You can really highlight how our design is addressing throughout its life cycle ecosystems. So that's 14 and 15. Yeah, in the business model standpoint, we see Fairphone, they are tackling the big names here, Samsung, iPhone, Apple, and so hopefully that will give you some inspiration that these business models, they do work, and there's a lot that you can explore and show that there's a new path. You don't just have to follow the lead of these huge companies, but yeah, we are very excited to see what you come up with, and how you are connecting all of these different areas. So we'll have time for some questions now, but we encourage you to really research the context that you choose to explore. That may even help you decide your context. Is there enough information available on these things? As that will help you massively if you can understand the social, the environmental, both the strengths and challenges. And then thinking about in what ways your concept can address these challenges and build on the opportunities throughout the life cycle. We will be sharing in our follow-up email there's a fantastic tool that has just been shared with us that helps you to actually map your design to the Sustainable Development Goals. So that hopefully will help you as you're thinking about this and incorporating this into your design. Yeah, we hope this has been useful, and we will be having another session on systems thinking and a three horizons model, which will look into these types of concepts in a bit more detail at a later date in the challenge year. But thank you from myself and Johnny. Any questions? We would love to answer them. While you're thinking, if you haven't already, please do scan this QR code and sign the terms and conditions. I'll leave this up for a moment. This is also available on CrowdSolve, and thank you, Rachel, for adding it. That's fantastic. It's in the Zoom chat. And we also have a feedback survey. If you, it'd be great if you could please let us know how you found this. We're always looking to improve our webinars, and that's also in the Zoom chat. So fantastic. Now you've had a time to think. Any questions either about what we've shared today or about the challenge more generally? We'd be happy to help. Cool. Well, we are on the hour, so we'll leave it there. I'll stay on for a few minutes if you want to ask anything then. But best of luck in the design challenge, and see you in the next webinar.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.